Grand luxury hotel exterior at night. Golden lights shining on glass walls. Valet parking expensive cars. Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, black Mercedes. Wealthy guests arriving in glamorous dresses and sharp tuxedos. Red carpet rolled out at entrance. Photographers flashing cameras. Inside lobby. Marble floors polished like mirrors. Crystal chandelier above. Waiters in neat uniforms rush to set final touches on tables. Black maid in modest uniform quietly carrying trays of glasses. Millionaire arrives, tailored suit, gold cufflinks, smug expression. Guests murmur in admiration, impressed by his wealth and status. Maid glances at him briefly, then returns to her duties silently. Guests seated at long banquet table draped in silk cloth. Centerpieces, red roses in crystal vases, flickering candles. Chef announces exotic Chinese dishes served in golden plates. Waiters bring wine bottles, uncorking them with smooth precision. Millionaire raises a toast in Mandarin. Guests clap politely. Black maid carefully pouring wine for a couple. Gentle smile. A guest compliments the millionaire's fortune and global influence. He smirks, boasting loudly about his success. Laughter echoes around the table, some impressed, some awkward. Maid quietly clears empty plates, unnoticed by most. Millionaire leans back in his chair, speaking arrogantly in Mandarin. He gestures toward the maid, mocking her status as a servant. Guests who understand Mandarin chuckle nervously. Maid pauses, hearing the insult, but keeps her head lowered. Her eyes flicker with pain, but also self-control. Another guest whispers, wondering if she understood. Millionaire continues, laughing louder, assuming superiority. Some guests exchange uneasy glances. Maid steadies the tray in her hands, her fingers trembling slightly. Atmosphere shifts, tension between arrogance and silence. Maid gently sets tray down, straightens her back. She looks directly at the millionaire for the first time. With calm but firm voice, she responds in fluent Mandarin. Entire room falls silent instantly. Guests freeze, eyes wide in shock. The millionaire's smirk disappears, stunned. She quotes a Chinese proverb about respect and dignity. Her tone is steady, her accent flawless. Guests exchange astonished glances, whispering in awe. Some begin clapping quietly, breaking the silence. A Chinese investor leans forward, deeply impressed. A woman gasps, covering her mouth in disbelief. A guest murmurs, she speaks better Mandarin than him. The millionaire shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Maid continues, respectful but powerful, addressing everyone. She tells them humility is greater than wealth. Guests nod, murmuring agreement, some applauding louder. A cameraman snaps photos discreetly, capturing the moment. The atmosphere shifts from arrogance to admiration for her. The millionaire swallows hard, realizing his mistake. A guest asks her how she learned Mandarin. She smiles softly, explaining she studied in China years ago. She describes long nights at a Beijing University library. She shares that hardship forced her to leave her studies. Guests listen intently, touched by her resilience. Her voice trembles slightly, but she speaks with pride. Millionaire bows his head, ashamed of mocking her. One elderly guest raises a toast to her wisdom. Glasses clink, echoing like a victory bell for dignity. The maid stands taller, confidence shining in her eyes. Close-up of Millionaire's face, regret in his expression. He whispers an apology in Mandarin, quietly but sincerely. Maid bows her head politely, accepting it with grace. Guests notice his humility, nodding approvingly. Atmosphere softens. Tension dissolves into respect. A businessman says, "True wealth is in respect, not money." Guests applaud again, louder and warmer this time. Millionaire claps too, forced to honor her strength. Maid smiles humbly, eyes glistening with emotion. Guests murmur that this dinner will never be forgotten. Investors begin addressing the maid directly, asking questions. She shares stories of Chinese culture and proverbs. Guests lean closer, captivated by her knowledge. Millionaire listens silently, no longer center of attention. The maid becomes the highlight of the evening. Guests laugh warmly at her humor, clapping often. A Chinese guest praises her accent as perfectly authentic. She bows modestly, saying respect is the true language. Guests applaud again, long and heartfelt. Millionaire stares at his untouched wine, humbled. Dinner concludes with dessert served in porcelain bowls. Maid helps serve calmly, but now with admiration from guests. Investors thank her personally, shaking her hand. A guest offers her a scholarship to resume studies. She's stunned, covering her mouth with tears of joy. Guests stand and clap, giving her a standing ovation. Millionaire joins reluctantly, clapping slowly but respectfully. The maid bows deeply, overwhelmed with gratitude. Atmosphere is transformed. Respect, unity, and inspiration. Lights of chandeliers sparkle as if blessing her moment. Maid exits the hall, holding her head high. She walks past hotel lobby, footsteps echoing. A soft smile spreads across her face, proud yet humble. Guests talk about her endlessly, stories spreading quickly. Millionaire stands by the window, deep in thought. He whispers to himself about humility and respect. A journalist writes an article about the powerful moment. The headline, Maid's Mandarin teaches millionaire true wealth. Maid returns to her small room, holding new hope for future. Closing shot, her looking out at the city skyline, resilient and strong. Morning sunlight over the city skyline, the story already spreading. Hotel lobby, buzzing with whispers about the maid's Mandarin. Staff exchange excited looks, proud of her courage. Hotel manager reads a trending article on his phone. Guests from last night still discussing the powerful moment. A reporter calls the hotel, requesting an interview with the maid. Maid quietly cleans tables, unaware of her growing fame. Coworkers approach, congratulating her shyly. Maid blushes, thanking them humbly. Manager asks her into his office, serious expression. In the office, he praises her bravery. He informs her that journalists want to meet her. She looks shocked, unsure how to respond. "I'm just a maid," she whispers softly. Manager shakes his head. "No, you're more than that." She hesitates, worried about attention. A coworker encourages her to share her story. Maid remembers her struggles studying in Beijing. Her eyes glisten with emotion, torn between fear and pride. She agrees reluctantly, but only to inspire others. Later, cameras set up in hotel lounge. Maid sits nervously in her modest uniform. Reporter asks, "How did you learn Mandarin so perfectly?" She recalls late nights translating Chinese texts. She remembers professors who pushed her to excel. She shares how financial hardship forced her home. Tears glimmer as she explains why she became a maid. Reporter leans forward, deeply moved. Camera captures her dignity and grace. Audience watching live begins flooding comments with support. Cut to the millionaire, sitting in his penthouse. He watches the interview on TV, ashamed. His reflection shows in glass window, conflicted expression. He recalls mocking her, guilt overwhelming him. He slams his glass of wine down, realizing his arrogance. Flashback of his words, contrasted with her fluent reply. He paces, muttering that respect matters more than money. He calls his assistant, asking for her contact. Assistant looks surprised. The maid, millionaire nods silently, regret in his eyes. Meanwhile, video of maid's Mandarin speech goes viral online. Social media headlines. The maid who spoke truth in Mandarin. Millions watch, inspired by her wisdom. Comments flood in, "True queen, respect, what an inspiration." Students in China share her clip, praising her fluency. University professor in Beijing recognizes her name. He recalls she was one of his brightest students. He decides to reach out through the embassy. A scholarship committee gathers to discuss her case. Hope quietly begins to bloom for her future. Back at the hotel, customers ask to meet the maid who spoke Mandarin. She feels embarrassed by sudden attention. Coworkers tease her kindly, proud of her. Maid remains humble, serving with the same quiet dignity. But now, guests bow their heads slightly when she approaches. A Chinese investor from the dinner calls her aside. He offers her a job as translator for his company. She gasps, shocked at the opportunity. He insists her skills are too valuable to be wasted. Maid hesitates, unsure if she's ready to leave her job. Cut to the millionaire again, restless at his desk. He scribbles on a notepad, crossing out words. He rehearses how to apologize to her. His pride clashes with his shame. He remembers the applause she earned. He stares at a family photo, recalling his own humble beginnings. For the first time in years, he feels small. He whispers, "I need to make this right." He stands, grabs his coat, determination in his eyes. His driver opens the car door. Millionaire heads to the hotel. Hotel lobby quiets as the millionaire walks in. Staff glance nervously, sensing tension. Maid sees him approach, tray trembling slightly in her hands. Guests whisper, waiting to see what happens. Millionaire clears his throat, asking to speak privately. Maid hesitates, then nods calmly. They step into the garden terrace, quiet night, air surrounding them. Millionaire bows slightly, shocking her. He apologizes in Mandarin, voice sincere. Maid listens silently, eyes searching his face. He admits his arrogance, his shame heavy in his voice. He says she taught him more in one night than years of wealth. Maid softens, nodding slowly. She replies, "Respect is the true language of humanity." He lowers his head, repeating her words quietly. Garden fountain trickles softly in the silence. For the first time, Millionaire looks truly humble. Maid smiles faintly, forgiving him with grace. They shake hands under soft garden lights. Staff peeking through windows wipe their eyes. Guests inside clap softly, inspired by what they see. The apology spreads through the hotel like fire. Reporters catch wind, cameras flashing as they exit terrace. Headline the next morning. Millionaire apologizes to Maid in Mandarin. Social media explodes again, praising his humility. Maid feels overwhelmed, but proud she stood for respect. Offers from schools and companies flood in. Scholarship confirmed. Full funding to resume studies in China. Maid cries joyfully, clutching the acceptance letter. Millionaire reads the news, relieved she is getting her chance. Maid prepares to leave for university again, suitcase small, but full of hope. Hotel staff gather, hugging her, showering blessings. Manager gives her a book of Chinese proverbs as farewell gift. Coworkers cheer, "Make us proud." She boards the plane, heart racing with excitement. Millionaire secretly watches from a distance, satisfied she's moving forward. On board, she gazes out airplane window, clouds glowing orange. She whispers to herself in Mandarin, "A new beginning." Cut to Beijing, bustling city full of energy. Maid steps out, overwhelmed but smiling. University professor greets her warmly, calling her by name. Students gather, curious about the maid who spoke Mandarin. She blushes but greets them confidently. Classes begin, advanced literature, cultural history, translation. She studies late into the night, determination in her eyes. Flashbacks of cleaning hotel floors push her to work harder. She aces her exams, praised by professors. She delivers a speech in Mandarin at cultural seminar. Audience rises, applauding her courage and talent. News spreads again. Former maid excels at Beijing University. Millionaire reads the update from his office. For once, he smiles genuinely without envy. He tells his assistant, "This is what true success looks like." He donates anonymously to the scholarship fund. Maid learns of anonymous donor, touched by generosity. She suspects it might be him, but keeps silent. Months pass, her skills sharpen. She becomes fluent in not only Mandarin, but also Cantonese. She tutors international students in language exchange. Students admire her resilience, calling her teacher. Graduation day arrives, golden sun shining over campus. Maid walks across stage in cap and gown. She receives her diploma, tears rolling down her cheeks. Audience erupts in thunderous applause. Her professor hugs her proudly. Reporters capture the moment, broadcasting worldwide. Millionaire watches live stream in his penthouse. He claps alone, smiling with pride. Maid looks into camera, dedicating her success to dignity. Flashing cameras immortalize her victory. After graduation, job offers pour in. International firms want her as cultural consultant. Universities invite her to lecture on language and resilience. She chooses a nonprofit, helping poor students access education. She remembers her own struggles, determined to give back. She travels across countries, speaking about dignity and respect. Students listen, eyes filled with admiration. She repeats, "Never underestimate anyone's worth." Applause follows her everywhere, message spreading globally. Millionaire reads articles, realizing she changed countless lives. Years pass, montage of her achievements. Books written in Chinese and English, bestsellers. Interviews on TV channels, inspirational speeches. Standing ovations at international conferences. Universities granting her honorary doctorates. She visits her old hotel, staff hugging her proudly. The lobby feels smaller now, but her heart is bigger. Guests take photos with her, remembering her story. Hotel hangs her portrait on wall, from maid to master. Staff tear up, inspired by her journey. Millionaire, now older, attends one of her lectures quietly. He sits at the back, humbled, listening to her wisdom. She notices him, but says nothing, just smiles softly. After speech, he approaches with nervous steps. He congratulates her sincerely, respect in his eyes. She thanks him, saying his mistakes sparked her courage. Both laugh gently, the past now forgiven. He donates to her nonprofit publicly, finally proud of humility. Audience applauds both, touched by transformation. Cameras capture handshake, symbol of reconciliation. News headline, from arrogance to ally. Millionaire supports former maid. Social media praises both for growth and forgiveness. Students tweet, "This is how humanity wins." Old dinner guests recall that unforgettable night. Chinese investors say, "Respect lasts longer than wealth." Maid continues to teach across the world. Millionaire focuses on philanthropy, inspired by her. Their story becomes case study in schools. Documentaries highlight her journey. She writes final memoir titled, "The Language of Respect." Book signing events crowded with eager readers. She signs in both English and Mandarin, smiling warmly. Readers thank her for inspiring their lives. Children hug her, calling her a hero. Her mother, once worried about her future, cries with pride. She buys her mother a home, fulfilling old dream. Millionaire attends quietly, handing them flowers. Family invites him inside, treating him as a friend. He smiles gratefully, touched by their kindness. Closing shot of them sharing dinner, this time as equals. Years later, she's invited to UN summit to speak. She steps on world stage, nations listening. She speaks about dignity transcending borders. Applause echoes in grand hall of leaders. Millionaire watches from home, smiling proudly. World media calls her the voice of respect. Children worldwide study her speeches in schools. Statues of her unveiled in both China and her homeland. Her journey becomes symbol of humility and perseverance. Closing chapter of Act 3, her eyes glowing with hope. Montage of students inspired by her story. Children practicing Mandarin in classrooms. Teachers quoting her proverb about respect. Scholarship fund in her name established. Thousands of poor students supported globally. Universities honor her with statues on campus. Professors cite her journey in lectures. Social workers carry her books to remote villages. Women in developing nations say, "If she did it, so can we." News anchors celebrate her impact on International Women's Day. Millionaire retires, living quietly with less luxury. He volunteers at orphanages, teaching kids humility. He funds schools anonymously, preferring no credit. People notice his transformation, inspired by change. Old arrogance replaced by quiet gratitude. His once proud mansion now filled with books, not trophies. He keeps her memoir on his desk, reading often. He whispers, "Thank you for teaching me." Tears glisten in his aged eyes. He feels peace for the first time. Cut back to Maid, now global leader in education. She receives Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Standing ovation fills hall as her name is announced. She humbly walks on stage, dressed in simple gown. She dedicates award to the unseen and underestimated. Applause thunderous, lasting minutes. Cameras flash, tears on faces worldwide. Millionaire watches live, clapping slowly, whispering her name. She raises award, smiling with gratitude. Her story immortalized in history books. Years later, she retires from public work. She builds small cultural center in hometown. Children run around, learning Chinese calligraphy. Walls decorated with her photos and proverbs. She walks among children, gently correcting strokes. Laughter fills rooms, joy radiating everywhere. She sits by window, watching sunset peacefully. A young girl asks, "Teacher, why respect?" She smiles, "Because respect is the richest language." The child nods, running off with laughter. Millionaire visits one last time, now frail with age. She welcomes him warmly, offering tea. They sit under tree, silence comfortable between them. He thanks her for changing his life. She replies, "You chose to change, I only opened a door." Both laugh softly, remembering the past. Birds sing overhead, gentle breeze rustles leaves. They shake hands, a final gesture of peace. Millionaire passes away peacefully weeks later. Newspapers recall, from pride to humility, his final chapter. Maid attends his funeral, tears glistening. She places white flower on his coffin, whispering a blessing. Guests bow to her, acknowledging her role in his change. Priest reads passage about humility and dignity. Sunlight breaks through clouds as coffin lowered. Maid closes eyes, whispering Mandarin proverb of farewell. Wind carries petals across the graveyard softly. Finality mixed with peace in her heart. She walks away, posture strong, spirit calm. Legacy of both lives intertwined forever. Montage of students reading her memoir decades later. Teachers explain how a maid taught a millionaire humility. Blackboards filled with her quotes in Mandarin and English. Animated film about her life shown to children. Young girl in Africa inspired to study Chinese. Boy in India learns Mandarin because of her story. Cultural exchange programs name scholarships after her. Global festivals celebrate the language of respect day. Her face painted on murals across cities. Streets named in her honor, legacy alive. Old age, she sits on porch, watching grandchildren play. They ask her to tell story of hotel night again. She laughs, repeating the tale softly. Grandchildren clap, eyes shining with pride. She hugs them, whispering, "Never mock, always respect." Evening sky painted in golden orange hues. She closes eyes, remembering the banquet room. Sound of applause echoes in her memory. She smiles softly, peace washing over her. Candle flickers beside her chair. Final days, surrounded by family and students. She breathes softly, eyes gentle. A Mandarin proverb slips from her lips. Family holds her hands tightly. She whispers, "Respect is eternal." Peaceful silence fills the room. Candle flame goes out slowly. Funeral attended by world leaders, students, and family. White doves released into sky, symbol of peace. Her memoir placed on her coffin, respect immortalized. Years later, statues of her and Millionaire stand together. Plaque reads, "From arrogance to respect, humanity's true wealth." Tourists take photos, learning story of humility. Children lay flowers at the statue's base. Her quotes carve into walls of schools worldwide. Legacy continues across generations. Students whisper Mandarin proverbs she once spoke. Candlelight vigils on her death anniversary each year. Story retold endlessly in classrooms and homes. Closing scene. World map glowing with words. Respect is the true language, her voice echoing forever.